This is it guys, the very first electrified vehicle to come from a local Malaysian car company, the Perodua Ativa Hybrid. Now this is priced from just 500 ringgit per month for a total price of just 32,150 ringgit over 5 years. But before you get too excited, nope, you can't buy one. There's 300 units over here, but they're all sold for now. Now, this car is still very interesting, so let's take a look at all the small details that make it different compared to the regular Ativa. Let's go. Alright, let's talk about the pricing first, because obviously that is the most interesting or the most unique part. This car isn't technically on sale, it is basically part of Perodua's experiment really. This is a subscription program. You pay a very small down payment, which is 2,150 ringgit, a one-time fee, and beyond that you are only paying 500 ringgit per month for 5 years. Which is why if you total everything up, it's only about 32,000 ringgit. Now, to get the same installment on a regular Ativa, taking the Ativa EV price of around 73,000 ringgit, you have to put down 45,000 ringgit of a down payment to get the same installment of 500 ringgit over 5 years. The subscription program covers pretty much everything there is to cover about the car ownership program. All you have to pay for is the 500 ringgit a month plus the fuel. Everything else, including the tires, the wear and tear items like windscreen wipers, the brake pads, every single thing is covered. Now that includes road tax as well as insurance as well. So yeah, that is pretty big savings if you ask me. Now of course, with this program, after the whole 5 years, you just have to return the whole car to Perodua and you don't have anything in return. You are basically just renting the car for 5 years, so basically you don't have any garan in your hand lah. But like I said, every single one of the 300 units have been accounted for, so even if you really want one, even if you have like, I don't know, 100,000 ringgit in hand, nope, you can't buy one right now. Sorry for that. Now let's talk about the visual differences. As you can see, this car doesn't look like an Ativa, it looks like the base Daihatsu Rocky version. This is a thoroughbred JDM car, Japanese domestic model. The only thing that they've changed, the only thing that's Perodua about this car, the badges. If you look up close, really there's even bare holes where clearly the recess was designed for a Daihatsu D badge instead of a Perodua P logo. So all the bumpers, the front and rear, are pure Daihatsu. It's got a different grille, and this grille in fact is specific to the Daihatsu Rocky Hybrid version. The lights, however, front and back, are exactly the same as the Ativa. Now move on to the wheels. These are unique 17-inch wheels, same size as the top spec Ativa of course, but it's a different design. And if you look up close, this has 5 lugs instead of just 4. The tires are also different. These are more eco-friendly tires for even better fuel economy. And now let's talk about the most important part about this car being a hybrid. Let's talk about the engine and fuel economy. Perodua says this can average above 30 kilometers per litre of fuel. So you can go from KL to Penang with just 25 ringgit worth of RON 95. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? But the way this car uses fuel is very different to how any other car uses fuel, because the engine over here, in this case a 1.2 litre naturally aspirated 3-cylinder engine, is not used to power the wheels at all. It's only here as a power generator to charge up the battery pack. There is a fairly large battery pack hidden under the rear seats, and that then is used to power up the front electric motor. So this is a very different kind of hybrid than what we have been used to. Earlier hybrids, they usually have the regular engine running the front wheels or the rear wheels with a small electric motor assisting in terms of acceleration and whatnot. And this one, the engine is completely detached, is not connected whatsoever to the wheels. Like I said, the engine powers the battery powers the electric motor. In terms of output, the electric motor here is rated at 106 PS and 170 Newton meters of torque. So that is a fair bit more power and torque compared to the regular Ativa 1 litre turbo. That only has 98 PS and 140 Newton meters of torque. So off the line, expect this car to be quite a fair bit more powerful than the standard Ativa. This is a similar system to what Nissan has been using in their recent e-power hybrid versions. This is pretty much as close as you can get to an EV here in Malaysia without having to worry about charging the battery up, because as you drive along, it's going to be pin drop silent. It's only going to be the electric motor powering the wheels as you drive on. But those are just the small things that you can't really see. What you can see are the differences on the outside, of course, and the inside. Now let's go on to the small things that you may not have noticed about this car. Number one, the side mirrors. They're actually different units compared to the standard Ativa. These are smaller, more compact side mirrors. These are the JDM units on the Daihatsu Rocky and so on. On the left, you can even see that they've got a separate curb side mirrors. These are very typical of JDM cars that are in Japan. It's for you to see the front and rear wheels without hitting the curb, without having the need of a full 360-degree camera. Speaking of camera, for some reason this car is not fitted with a reverse camera, so it's a fairly low spec car, which is a bit of a shame. But at the back, this has the full plastic tailgate compared to the metal one that you have in the Ativa. That is super unique. You lift up the tailgate, it's very light, and it feels fairly sturdy at the same time. One thing that you may not have noticed is the ride height. This car rides a lot lower compared to the Ativa. This rides at 185 millimeters of ground clearance compared to a full 200 for the Ativa. At the same time, this has the suspension settings that's tuned for Japanese roads rather than the ones that are specifically made for Malaysian roads that's in the Ativa. So I'm not quite sure how this will fit our local roads either. But on the outside, it sure looks a little bit sportier because it's slightly lower to the ground. The whole face, I do think, is a bit sportier than the Ativa as well. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below. Now on to the very small minor details. Well, the standard Ativa only has a keyless sensor on the driver's door. This being a Daihatsu, you've got sensors on both front doors. That is more like it. It's a lot easier to use, I think. Now moving on inside, it looks a little bit low spec. You've got none of the red highlights in the top spec Ativa, and if you look at the steering wheel, there's so many blank buttons on this car. Now the sad thing is about this leasing, rental or subscription program, you are not allowed to mod or change anything, not a single thing on the car. You are tied by a contract to drive the car as is. The point is for Perodua to understand how local users would use an EV and electrified product such as this, so they can properly plan their next products based on actual user data. Now back to the interior, of course, there is a hybrid specific instrument which looks pretty good, and in the middle you don't have a handbrake anymore. It's all replaced by a much more modern electronic parking brake. Other than that, the aircon system is different. You don't have the basic Memory 1 and Memory 2 digital aircon controls in the Ativa. You now have the proper automatic climate control system in the Daihatsu, which to me looks and fits the design much better, but missing out on Memory 1 and Memory 2, a function that was specifically designed for Malaysia, is a bit of a shame as well. Now at the back, there's also a cooling vent to cool down the battery that's under the rear seats that is specific to the hybrid, and this is a common thing that we see in most other hybrid vehicles as well. The battery pack needs to be cooled down for it to last a long time, so yeah, having that small intake to take the cool air from inside the cabin to cool down the battery is a good thing to have. Now lastly, the boot space. If you lift up the boot floor, you don't see any spare tire because this car does not have one. There is a tire repair kit on the side wall of the boot instead. If you open up the small compartment, you'll see a small 12-volt battery. That is the auxiliary battery, and it's placed in the back within the boot to get away from any heat source. That should last much longer than a regular battery that's within the engine bay itself. So there you have it, all the details on the Perodua Ativa Hybrid. Is that attractive enough for you? Let me know in the comment section below. Would you be interested in such a subscription model for future Perodua models? Let me know in the comment section below. For now, thank you for watching and stay safe, everyone.